Is that just me? Or am I just an old man? Welcome to Dan's Stream of Thought. It is the time where we all come together and we all yell at the teacher, including the teacher himself. Yells at himself and says, "Hey, teach. Why don't you go get off your keister and teach me something I'm going to use in the real world?" What? Excuse me, when am I going to use this in the real world? I don't need to know algebra. Oh yeah? Oh yeah? You don't need to know algebra? You know that time where you had to play this game that was called Chef, and they threw a bunch of puzzles at you and you said, "I don't know what the heck I'm doing"? Algebra. 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 That was my entire morning, by the way. I played a game called Chef, and it's hard. It's basically Factorio meets Overcooked meets Satisfactory meets some other things that meets Dark Souls. Welcome everybody, it is July 16th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6:03 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dan's Stream of Thought. Welcome to the show. Welcome to class. Ding, 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 school's in. Is that how they say it? Is that how they say it? I don't know. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 like we're going to fight in a ring. This is going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight of attrition and my cat trying to get my attention. Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the Stream of Thought. We're just going to have an entire Stream of Thought that goes through. This is going to be a short one, and I have a thing that's supposed to be holding a pen, and I don't actually have a pen. I usually have a pen with me. It's around here somewhere. Doesn't matter. We're going to be talking about something that we did touch on a lot last week, but considering today is going to be a short class, not because I have, like, you know, a hangover or that I have like problems happening. No, I have to get out of here soon because I have meetings all day long. Just stream for 8 hours and I've got meetings for the next few hours and all kinds of stuff. But I'm never going to say we're not coming to class. So don't ever think about that one. Although there might be chances where that happens. It might even happen next week. I guarantee it won't, but actually, no, I don't guarantee anything. But here's the thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. If you guys have never been here before, this is a show all about professionalism in the gaming industry. And this goes amongst all kinds of things. It's not just for Twitch. It's not just for streaming. It's not just for content creation. It's for everybody in this industry. It's the industry I know the best. It's the only industry I really know at all. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can come together and say, I want to be a better professional in this planet, in this plane. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to show real quick. You pick up one of these, and you don't read it. You just put it on your coffee table. No, you could pick up one of these. There's actually only 8 left on Amazon right now. I don't know if they're actually coming together or if they're actually going to order more. It's been over a week. We bought, like, several of them. Several. I can count them on both my hands, to Guardian Con, now known as GCX, and we sold them all. Thanks to the lovely, lovely team over here at StreamerSquare. Hunter and Loco had my back the whole time. Loco was pimping it out. Hunter was talking about it. It was baller. It was awesome. It was so much fun. You know, it's sitting on the table because that's where it belongs. It belongs to your coffee table. Anyway, hello everybody. Who's in class today? Can I get some 07s in chat? I need to see who's in class. I need to see who shows up, and I need to mark you down so that I know you've come here. We're bringing you mobile. Yes, we can have class outside. Yes, enjoy the sun. Enjoy the sun. Enjoy the sun. Povo Gamer, the Hunter Wild, Loco, Cat Navita. Hi everybody. King Stoller, Astro Webs, West Sisa, Dulamar and Adorkableem. Hi, everybody. General Vicious. Who's that? Who's this GV man? What are you a general of? What kind of army do you command? Huh? Do you command the army to break down my gates? I don't have any gates. I live in San Diego. We don't have gates. What's up, Chris Stoll? What's up, Combat Monkey? How you doing, G Neal? Hi, everybody. What's up, A Greens? I messed that up. So, if you guys are coming over, you guys still around from the Stream Doctor? Like, oh my God, that was a good show today. If you guys enjoyed that, like, please, let's get some ones in chat. Give me some ones in chat for those who enjoyed that show, because I enjoy watching the show. I now end my stream an hour early instead of like 15 minutes early to come here and watch the last hour of the show, so that we can get that going, because it's fantastic. Loco covered some cool stuff today. A lot of stuff that I tend to agree with. Some stuff that I don't even know myself, you know? 1/2 + 1/2 = 1. I don't think so. I don't think that's correct. Granted, I'm a streamer, so I don't know math. When I turn the stream off, I could probably do like linear algebra and it'd be fine. But anyway, we're going to be talking about some cool stuff today. We're going to be talking about being a community leader and what it means to be a community leader. I did see a question in chat during Stream Doctor as Loco was talking about this show today, and there was a question that I know is probably a joke, but it's kind of serious in a lot of ways, because the reason and the way that I wrote this book, and the reason I put this book together, and Saber AP helped me actually like make it come to fruition, come to life, was for it to be sort of pretty timeless, right? I'm already working on 3 other books right now, but this one is meant to be timeless. The others are going to be all over the place, but this one is meant to be something that you can actually keep forever, even if the times change, which they will, which they actually already have. In fact, huge changes came to Twitch 3 months after I sent my final draft in and I could not edit anymore. Because if you've ever worked with me, you will know one thing, that I will continue working on something until you tell me to stop. It's so bad. I guarantee there are so many people out there that absolutely hate my work ethic. Not because it's like great, but because I'm going to keep messing with stuff and editing things until the day you tell me, hey, stop with this. Quit it. Dan, put it down. Put it down. But the bigger point is that it's meant to be lasted. It's meant to last forever. It's meant to be there. It's made from carbon woven full-on steel on jet black ink with bulletproof. No, it's not bulletproof. I shouldn't say that. Disclaimer. Can somebody type the disclaimer thing in chat? The things I say in here should not always be followed. In fact, most of these things are suggestions and not actual, hey, do this advice. Legal and tax information is not legal and accounting advice. It's not. No, it's just something that comes out of my stream of thought. Jeez, man. What's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Anyway, we're going to be talking about being a community leader and what it means. So the question that came up earlier was, do I have to have a community to be a community leader? And the reason I brought all that stuff up before was legitimately to say, no, you do not. Well, you don't have to in order to learn how to be a community leader. You don't have to do these things in order to say, hey, I'm going to gather skills to become something that is going to make me a better professional leader. Because what is a professional? What is a professional? If you have an answer in chat, please. Also, if the mods can open up questions so that we can actually have questions, I'm gonna squeeze in questions. I know we only have like maybe 30, 40 minutes, but squeeze in questions, bring them in. I really, really would love to answer as many of those as possible today, because we're kind of wrapping up what we did last week. So I'll get through that and we'll talk about those things. And but if you have questions, like please. And it doesn't have to be about this topic. The whole reason that it's kind of called Stream of Thought, and the whole reason that I very much went with it when Loco suggested it was, because that is kind of how I do things. I do things with a flow. I do things with a sort of jazz to it. And not because jazz is good, but because jazz doesn't really have a necessary plan to things. It just kind of goes with it. In fact, every time I make a plan to something, I usually don't even follow it. Every week I have notes on a document that I have in front of my screen, and I don't think I've followed it once yet. But I love that. I absolutely love that. That is exactly how I learned in school. That is the best way I learned in school. It's how I gathered all the information, because we went with something that made sense at every point. Hey, what's the logical next step to the thought that we're taking, and what are the things that make sense when we're attempting to think of a new topic of discussion? We can bring it in and we can have something that makes sense, right? If you have a plan, you thought about that plan by yourself and probably in an office somewhere. For me, it's on my couch, probably in my underwear eating Cheetos. It doesn't make sense. It's not meant to make sense, right? I just made a plan. Obviously, that's not the right mindset. I would be in front of a class of I don't know, a few people and saying, hey, let's develop something that doesn't make sense. And that's part of being a professional too, is being able to improv, right? Being able to improv on the fly and hopefully do it in the right way that makes sense. And usually improv doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go right, but the better and better you get at it, the more and more it's going to be less wrong. So if that makes sense, we can go that way. That mental image, yeah, you don't want that mental image, and I apologize. But the bigger point is, I need to read some of these definitions here. I manage a program of 39 people in logistics and project management. I don't even know what professional is. I guess that's the point I'm attempting to make throughout this entire series of recordings and streams and stuff like that. Is essentially we all kind of have it within us. I'm not going to give you the Michael Jordan, the secret stuff slogan or saying or speech or whatever, because that's not what this is. But we all sort of have seen professionalism. We've seen people be professional, especially in this world. If you spent more than maybe 6 to 8 months on Twitch, you've seen it through several streams and several people. There's a lot of people that are not super professional on this platform, not because they don't really know how, but mostly because they don't choose to. A lot of these things are choices. A lot of the things that professionals do and non-professionals do is they make choices that just kind of dictate sort of how they go about doing their business and taking care of their business. You know what I mean? Yeah, the secret sauce. Yeah, Michael Jordan's secret sauce. His special stuff. Secret sauce sounds weird. Special stuff. Was that supposed to make me hungry? What, underwear and Cheetos? I hope not. Maybe? Have you ever had those? You guys remember those asteroid hot Cheeto balls? You know, spicy Captain Crunch. You remember those? And the things that ruined your mouth but also taste like spicy powder. Maybe like a little bit of miso something. Do you guys remember that? Anyway, that's what I think of when I think of spicy Cheetos. Or not spicy Cheetos, hot Cheetos. Because I don't really eat Cheetos anymore. I always thought Cheetos were gross, but spicy Cheetos are the best. Spicy Captain Crunch. But one of the biggest things about being a professional, and especially about leading your community, is it's unfortunate that a lot of people have a problem with this, but there's a lot of people that spend their time on stream and don't really think about how other people see them all the time. And that's hard, especially when you do like 8 to 10 hour streams, But at the same time, it's one of those things that is the most important, right? Yes, you want to be entertaining. Yes, you want to make memes. Yes, you want to, tell jokes. And yes, you want to, yell and scream and have reactions to things. But all the time, if you do those things without actually thinking about what the actual outcome is and what people actually think of those things, then you might make a mistake. And this is not to say like, oh, be aware of the trolls and the trolls might come after you, or the toxic people in chat care about what they think. No, you'll start to learn after years and years of experience that you can't help everybody. You can't entertain everybody. Somebody's going to have a problem with what you do. If you're like me, everybody's going to have a problem with what you do. You just kind of got to take it on the chin sometimes and at least cater to the people that you really do enjoy having around and that genuinely do enjoy your content. But the biggest part comes down to say, hey, I'm gonna make a decision that says we're gonna have something here. I'm gonna do something. It's going to at least build my image in the way that I want to, and hopefully not crumble that by making one mistake, right? You know, maybe you're saying a rap lyric and you say the wrong word. Maybe you shouldn't have said it. If it's something that you think is fine in your own home, whatever, I guess. But if you say it in public, remember that there's always something around it. Or at least something that happens. That's a story that has happened on Twitch before. That's why I bring it up. Not to me, but it's happened on Twitch before. So I think I bring that up, and that's kind of like how a lot of these things happen, right? A lot of these things are kind of PR, public relations fiascos, or sometimes other people just blow it out of proportion. One of the things that I specialize in is public relations. That's kind of my bread and butter. That's what I love. That's the jelly. That's the sweetness. That's the honey tart that comes through in the flavors when you bring out that yummy pizza. You know what I'm saying? Actually, your pizza should never be tart, by the way. So pineapples are always out of the question. But the bigger point is that every time you talk about something, every time you bring something up, and every time you talk to your community, always be thinking about what it means to them. You know, what does it say to them? Always have your message understood. In fact, I had an interaction on Twitter just the other day, actually just yesterday. You may have seen it or may not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Where somebody was memeing. I absolutely just despise. I was memeing. It's the same thing as, it's just a joke, bro. It was memeing when their implication within their meme meant something, and there was a message behind it, and there was a negative message behind it. And when I pointed it out and said, hey man, I sarcastically, I love the negativity behind this, or the negative rhetoric behind this. It brightens everybody's day. Obviously being sarcastic, not like anybody mistook that. This person didn't mistake that. They knew exactly what I was saying. And it came off to them as saying, hey, this is what I meant by this. All other meaning is on you. But what they missed was what they mean sometimes doesn't matter, especially when the majority of who's reading it reads it another way. And it goes back to, and it harps back on a lot of these things, you don't get to decide when somebody is hurt by something. You have to decide whether you're okay with it. So when you lead a community, and you lead a community to greatness, and you lead them to the holy land of you know, whatever the Twitch mecca might be, and you lead them to somewhere where you say, hey, we follow you, or they say, we follow you to the darkness, into Mordor. We simply march in there because we are the loony bin, or, you know, the wilderness or something. We are, I mean, I don't know about you guys, if you guys know this, but the loony bin and the wilderness both follow Loco and Hunter into Mordor with just marching into it. I promise you that. But when they follow you into stuff like that, and they're very loyal to you, and they very much believe in who you are and what you do, they're going to pay attention to everything you say, right? We live in a world where streamers are seen as celebrity, whether or not they have, you know, the 30,000 followers that they're legally supposed to have to be called celebrity. That's a legal term. It doesn't really matter. No matter who you are, if you have 10 viewers, 5 viewers, those viewers probably see you as some sort of celebrity in some way, shape, or form. So they're going to look up to you. And considering we live in a celebrity viewing culture where we look up to these people and actually believe that what they do is good and what they do is meaningful and stuff like that, why not use that to say, hey, let's actually do things that are meaningful and good, or at least say things that you want to be known as for the rest of your life or the rest of your career. You know, it doesn't have to be good, but if you accept something, accept who you are, that's you being a professional, right? That exception, or not exception, that acceptance is part of the professionalism within this world. If you start to do things and make mistakes, that happens all the time. That's fine. Mistakes are fine. But as long as you're making a conscious effort to at least put yourself out there in a way that you want to, professionalism makes sense. And professionalism is something that people follow. There's a section in this book. So for those that are wondering where we kind of left off and where we're going, because we are following a book. following a book, sort of like a book club. That was the entire idea behind this, and it sort of has adapted and evolved in a good way into something a little bit different. The way we see where we are is about page 65, and it's under a section called Common Etiquette. We put this in the book because for a while, and especially my mindset during this writing process, was we should have a thing that is common etiquette for a place like Twitch, because we constantly see people quote unquote breaking that, right? We see people breaking that common etiquette, and we see people saying things that they maybe shouldn't have said. When it all comes down to what is actually common etiquette, do we live in a world with thousands and thousands of streamers that go live every single day? Is there a possibility for a common etiquette? Considering we have so many people that go through and they advertise themselves on others' channels, and we see so many loud people on Twitter talk about not doing that. And I don't mean loud as in like negative. I mean loud as like these are the people talking about it. Talking about that on Twitter and saying, hey, don't do this. Which I think I said last week, but one of my pet peeves is PSAs. You know, there's a right way to do a PSA, and it usually doesn't have to have an aggressive tone. I think the way Loco talks about things in public and says, hey, here's a tip, is probably the best way to do it. You should probably follow Loco's advice on that one. But the people who say, hey, just so you know, don't go into other people's channels and ask for a follow. That's a dick move. And I'm like, I guarantee the people that are following you probably already know this. Who are you talking to right now? And you know, if it really comes down to there's a few people that are following you and you are talking to them, well, I mean, it's probably best to just keep that into a let's take this by a case-by-case basis. We don't need to shout this out to the world. Now, if you want to, you can say whatever you want. It's your free speech and free voice to do something. But it's one of those things where people are going to see that, right? And when I see that, personally, as a professional here in the gaming industry, when I see that, I think that you may not have a certain pulse on the industry itself, right? You may be talking about things that it's just to talk. It's just to say something. It's just to say, hey, I want to be heard, and I don't really care to say something that makes others sort of really think about something. Because a lot of times, well, and a lot of people do this too, and I don't think it's a terrible idea, but it's something that people do, is they talk about things that they know people already know, but they also know that people agree with it, so they know they'll get engagement. And I put engagement in quotes because likes and retweets don't always mean engagement. They just mean somebody clicked the button. Engagement really means engaging with somebody. And that's also part of being a community leader, is finding things that help people engage with you, right? And for me personally, I've found this, I mean, through years of experience, but it's finally hitting me after 4 years of doing this, 4 years and a few months of doing this on Twitch, that nobody has to say anything necessarily in your chat or in your Twitter or in your Discord to actually engage with you, right? If somebody remembers something that happened a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and other people start talking about it, and you remember nobody was actually talking about that in my chat, but they're now talking about it either in your chat now or in your Discord or about you on Twitter or looking at a clip, that is real engagement. That means people are remembering the things that you've done, things that you've said, the actions you've taken, right? All these things that are coming through and saying, hey, I remember do you remember when, you remember that time you spilled the chicken all over the place because you closed the refrigerator door, and the refrigerator door was made of like, plasteel made from the mountains of Wakanda by the tribe of, King T'Challa, that's his name. Do you remember that? Like, do you remember when that happened? It's like, yeah, I remember it. How do you guys remember it? There was like 10 viewers in my channel. It's like, well, I was one of them, and I remember that, and that was awesome. And that is real engagement. That is something that people that are talking about and being a part of and stuff like that. And you don't really know that's going to happen until later, but if you're constantly thinking about being a professional and doing things in a way that you would like to watch and see, somebody's going to see it eventually, or somebody was probably watching and just not chatting and just listening. that is the mindset that goes behind the professionalism within this industry. And this goes with, a lot of live things and a lot of conventions and events and legitimately all kinds of things that just happens in everyday life. You see somebody on the streets and they see you with the Twitch hoodie and they're like, "Hey, do you stream? That's awesome, man." And you treat them with respect. I mean, you should be treating people with respect no matter what, but it's like, "Hey, that's awesome. I appreciate that." If they want to ask for your channel, it's great. If they don't, then whatever. But the bigger point is that you're always thinking about saying, "Hey, what do I look like to this person?" Not visually, right? I look like a slob all the time, but when you really just say, "Hey, what is my image that I put out when I talk about things, whether it's on Twitch or outside of Twitch or about Twitch or whatever it is, what does that mean? How would you take it?" Right? How would you understand it if somebody said that to you? And that's hard, right? That's one of those things that takes a lot of practice, like a ton of practice. Absolutely not. Is there anything where you can just instantly go, "I know exactly how somebody else is going to understand this"? It's usually due to, like, you've said this before, you've talked about this before, you've had feedback on it before. There's a lot of things that have happened before you start to learn, like, "Hey, this is probably not going to go well and I probably shouldn't do this," or "This is going to go great," and you try it out and see what happens. So take that time and actually, like, think about what makes your community tick, what makes the people that follow you, what made them understand who exactly you were. And that sometimes goes to game selection, but don't ask me about game selection. I'm terrible at it. So ask Loco or Hunter about that one. But it comes to those things and, like, saying, "Hey, this is how I lead my community to greatness," by actually thinking about those. And back to, like, common etiquette, the reason that I kind of harping on this, the reason I don't like this section is because, yeah, like I said, I don't know if there necessarily is a common etiquette to something. I don't know if there's something that says everybody agrees to these rules, or at least most people agree to these rules, so it's probably a good idea to also agree to those rules. And sometimes you got to break those rules, right? It's common etiquette not to talk about your stream. It's common etiquette not to talk about your stream and other people's streams. Personally, I know that I wrote a book on Twitch. I know that I have a show on StreamerSquare. I know that people often ask me about my management. I know that there's people often asking about what's the difference between a manager and an agent. People ask these questions. So I know that people will come to me for this. So I understand that people are going to talk about their stream, or at least want to talk about their stream within my stream. So I allow people to talk about their stream. But it's in that context, it's in that world. I adapted to something like that. If somebody ever mentioned their stream, I took after a lot of other streamers and said, "No, you are banned. I don't like that." But then I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. I'm just doing things because other people are doing things. Lead your community in the way that you want to see them. You don't want to see them, obviously always talking about, "Oh, I'm going to go stream this. I should definitely, like, you guys want to come follow me, you're more than welcome to." Dan says it's okay to talk about streams in his chat. I mean, think about it for a second. What exactly does that mean? That doesn't mean yes. That doesn't mean go do that and say, "Hey, I'm going to just talk about, I'm going to go stream and you guys go watch me instead of, being here with Dan, Taj." Because for one reason, people probably aren't going to go follow you there. They're probably going to want to watch whoever they're already watching, not just because they already were there and they like them for a reason, but because they don't know anything about you necessarily, right? Now, obviously, there are bigger streamers that have more power to go do that. If Shroud were to come in here and say, "Hey, I'm going to go stream your guys' favorite game, come watch me," there's maybe a few people that would say, "Oh, dude, Shroud's streaming this? Heck yeah, I'm going to go watch that. Screw this show. It's boring. It's freaking class. School sucks. This is boring. I don't want to hear this." So, you might go do that, but that's also, they start to learn these things. They don't want it done to them, so they don't do it to them. But with that all being said, if I understand my stream well enough, then I'm going to understand that people are going to want to ask me about things. People are going to want to start to ask questions about their own stream and how I stream and how other people may stream and what's my opinion on this, how do you view this, and, et cetera, et cetera. So I do allow those things. Those kind of comments don't necessarily get banned right away. We talk about them. "Hey, I'm thinking about streaming this game today. What do you think?" You start to feel out, read the room, as I like to say a lot. read the room. Is that person new to this channel? Is that person new to what's going on? Are they trying to fish for trying to get some followers out of it, or do they actually have a genuine question about what they're doing? It's not easy to do, but it's part of community leadership. It's part of learning who you are and who your community is. Because it's one thing to say, hey, will you guys come follow me? This is a really big channel. This person doesn't need all these viewers. It's one thing to think that person's greedy by banning you. It's another thing to say, well, that's just kind of rude and it's not effective. So why are you? It's not effective because people aren't going to go just leave a stream that they're already watching and made a conscious choice to go watch. They're going to be, pretty much ignoring you. So why did you do it in the first place? You did it to kind of be rude, right? Because there's no effectiveness there. So you've made the choice to be rude rather than be effective. And that is an unprofessional decision. It's also it's a way to understand how your community works and stuff like that. I'm a firm believer that the only way anyone in the stream should know you stream is if you host or raid the streamer, host and raid and the streamer mentions it. I get that. I totally understand that. Personally, I don't think that's the only way to do it. You shouldn't, volunteering your information and saying, hey, I'm a streamer is one thing, and just doing it unprovoked is another. But sometimes, if somebody's talking about a topic that is completely relevant, hey man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do on my stream today. What game should we play? And then somebody would be like, hey man, I streamed this the other day. It's really cool. It's a really fun streaming game. That's a way to actually, let the streamer know that you stream without really fully advertising yourself. And it gives information it's information beneficial. It's always about your intent, and your intent tends to come through, unless you're just a genius social engineer, your intent almost always comes through in a very obvious way. So if I see that your intent is to be malicious and to attempt to, take attention away from the streamer that the channel's currently in, then you're probably going to get a slap on the wrist for that, or in trouble in some way, shape, or form. But usually a comment like that is never meant to be malicious. Usually a comment like that comes through and says, well, I'm just attempting to have a conversation and self-disclose something. Self-disclosure is a big piece we talk about in communication sciences. Self-disclosure goes a very long way with getting to know somebody and understanding something about that person. Because I work a lot with Marines, and I work with a lot of Marines that are attempting to properly rotate back to the States after being deployed for 12 months, often 24 months, sometimes more than that, where they live in a war zone where things just aren't, you don't have civilian life, or maybe you've just been on a base for too long. You don't understand how people who don't know military ethics work and how they do things and whatnot. So I work with a lot of people like that, and the biggest way that I'm able to connect with them is by self-disclosing. I don't have any war stories. When I was a kid, I was shot at in the ghetto. That doesn't mean that we have the same experiences. It doesn't mean that I even remember half of it, but I remember it happening. And I know that we can talk about memory in that way. Hey, I don't remember half the details of it happening. I remember it happening, and I remember people telling me about it afterwards. And I remember being extremely traumatized about it. And now that person knows that at least there's something there that you can connect with, and something there that is rare, that you won't find in many other people that may or may not be civilians, right? So self-disclosure goes a long way with understanding a little bit about somebody and helping them understand about you, and helping them feel comfortable with maybe disclosing something of themselves. They're never owed you anything. They're never owing you a piece of their information. They're never owing you anything personal, but sometimes it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable about doing so, right? Hi. Can I help you? I love you, but you gotta go. But you understand, there are many shapes and balances to who people are and how they work. A lot of trolls, we talk about this. I've talked about this with Hunter like not that long ago. A lot of trolls don't really mean to be trolls. They're just kind of brought up in a way that the only thing they know is being troll, right? There's somebody who's actually somebody I actually finally had to ban, so it may or may not be a good story. And I only banned them for 2 minutes because they were just being a jerk, and they got mad and I sent them a DM to talk about it afterwards, and they blocked me right away, and it just turned into something that was a little bit immature, and but it came down with we've had conversations about this a long time and saying, hey, what's going on? Why are you making these comments that are extremely hurtful to people? It's like, because I don't have any friends and nobody likes me and we have problems and I don't never really knew anybody. Nobody got close to me. And we have that conversation and we talk about the fact that that person being a troll that's the only thing they really know. So that's another piece of learning about your community is actually understanding what's going on with everything. Remembering, hey, this person just got a job at Trader Joe's. I know about that. We talked about that in chat. This person just got a job at Trader Joe's. Hey, how's your job doing, man? You have to talk about exactly where they work, but we talked about Trader Joe's for a while. It's like, oh, I hear they treat people really good. They treat people really well at that establishment. So that's awesome. I hope that works out better for you. You get to learn people's work hours. Oh, hey, you're watching right now. So you're probably watching from work. I hope that I can entertain you while you're busy and stuff like that. Feel free to get your lurk on. You don't have to chat. I know that's probably hard while you're working, but I'll be a voice in the background for you. And you start to learn things about that. Those are just tips. Those are tips in learning your community. But obviously, you don't have to know that much personal information about them, especially if they don't want to volunteer it. And you shouldn't definitely should not try to drag it out of them. But it's those things that helps you be a better leader. One of my favorite leaders was when I worked for a hardware store, and the store manager, who was voted one of the best in the entire state of California for like 5 years in a row, he knew everybody's birthday. He knew where everybody came from as far as their last job, sort of, and like the things that the experiences that they've had, and kind of the promotions that they've gone through and the awards that they've received. He tended to know most of those off the top of his head, and just that little note of like, you took the time to actually learn these things, even if you just had a page of things and somebody put together a cheat sheet and you just like read over them and memorized them, whatever. You took that time to actually memorize them, even if it's not meaningful to somebody who wants you to get to know them better. You at least took the time to do that, and that does mean that you actually care about something, even if it just means oh, I'm gonna profit more because I memorize things about somebody. That's not always the case. Sometimes people think about it that way. Sometimes that's also why they fail too. And that's also why they forget things. So when you get to know your community a little bit better, you get to know how to lead them a little bit better. And that's part of leading that conversation too. That's also part in the book. That's part of leading that conversation, is saying, hey, I know something about you. You know a bunch of things about me. Let's make them connect. One of my favorite things and one of my favorite streamers is Simcopter1, who I sort of learned this technique from him a little bit, in the fact that he always he's a kind of a geographer by education and formally trained in geography and learning about locations around the earth and stuff like that. His big thing is learning regions of where people live, or even if it's just the country or the general city area or whatever. He tends to learn a lot of those things and kind of remember where people are from. That way he not only knows like the time zone that they live in, but one of his big argument for that is location is how people connect, right? Location equals culture knowledge. Location equals I know what kind of food you eat on a normal basis. At least I'd be able to guess it, right? Culture goes a long way with a lot of this. A lot of communication science comes down to culture. One of my favorite things in learning about the world is culture. And that doesn't mean I'm going to go try a bunch of foods, even though I love talking about foods, because foods are the universal language for really knowing a person. Like, what kind of foods does this person enjoy? What kind of foods do they grow up in? And what kind of culture did they actually learn between each other? How do you learn how people interacted throughout the ages? Usually through the food that they came up with. the food that fused together over the years, and saying how many Spanish dishes are actually just like Mexican dishes. Well, it's a little obvious, but you already know the history behind why that is, because the Spanish conquered the Mexico, and food is quite a bit different before that. But you know that through a lot of things, but those are the things that connect it, right? Oh man, they use Spanish rice all the time in all their field and all their foods and stuff like that. Why do they do that? Oh, obviously, because there was a big culture influx there. It's the only thing that's really explicable when, back in that time, usually the only time that people ever really visited each other was either to conquer or because they were neighbors. But those are those things you kind of learn, right? One of the things is being proactive. Taking the time to understand something before you take action. One of those things we were talking about with a person that kind of left the stream, even though they were a big supporter for a long time. Relatively. When was the time to actually work on getting to know that person? When did I know to do that? When did I know I actually had to just time the person out? It's because we've had conversations, we've learned about things, and we've seen this person in other chats before. We've understood that they're a known person around our community and around my peers, amongst my peers. People know who this person is, so maybe there's a reason that I should get to know them a little bit better. And that comes down to learning a little bit about why they do what they do, right? If I didn't know the communities that we're a part of now, do you think Chef Hazmat would still be, able to chat in my chat? Excuse me? Pardon me? Pardon-moi? I just like having fun with Chef Hazmat. And A Greens. You think A Greens would be allowed to chat in my chat if I didn't know he was, part of Loco and Hunter's community pretty deeply? I don't know why he is now, honestly. It's just kind of what happens. But being proactive and understanding those things, and Loco talks about this on Stream Doctor all the time, is interacting with other streamers tends to help you with growth a lot, but it also helps you with just getting to know things, knowing cultures. The reason I decided to write a book in the first place was because I was so interested on culture within the Twitch community, right? And I'm talking about the vast Twitch community, the community full of different cultures. Twitch itself has its own culture, but it's chock full of so many microcultures that we really don't know all of them, and we don't know even a quarter of them probably. Right? We talk about all kinds of things, and I learned a lot from reading people's tweets on Twitter. I follow a lot of streamers, even streamers I've never watched before, just because they seem interesting. They seem like they have something to say that I will learn from, at least, in some way, shape, or form. I may engage with them at some point. But the reason I wanted to write a book was that for that reason. And you'll see in the book, if you haven't already, a lot of culture pieces and whatnot. Okay. I have time for 2 questions. If anybody has any questions, I have time for 2 questions, and then I have to bounce, like hardcore bounce. Like I have a hard out. So if you guys have anything, please shout something out. Next week, let me see. Let's follow this book here a little bit. We talked about third-party tools, but we'll probably talk about them some more. Broadcasting applications, overlay notifications. Bots, yeah, this is very basic stuff. Voice chat services, yeah, blah blah blah. Ba-da-dum-bum-bum. Okay. Talked about that too. So next week, we will talk about being an influencer and what it means to influence your community. This week, we talked about being a community leader, but next week, we're going to talk about actual influence and what it means to be part of that. So if you guys have any questions on that, put them in the Discord. If you have any questions about what we're talking about today, please put them out now. What does my shirt say? It says, everybody, yeah. I only said that because that's what Katie says. She says is it NSYNC? Yeah. Wait, is it NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? I don't remember. It's one of those, but it's actually just it's a Logic album. One of the best hip hop artists around. Rock your body, yeah. Back streets back. All right. I have a hard out, not a fan, but it's the only time I have. NSYNC and Backstreet Boys aren't the same band. I know they're not the same band. I just said it was one of the two. They're very much popular in the same era. I would think knowing who I am would make you less likely to let me post. I mean, maybe. Or close enough. See, that's what I said. They're close enough. They might as well be, right? No questions? Yeah, rock your body, yeah. So yeah, we'll pick this up some more. Like this is, I mean, these topics will like, and that's fine. If you guys don't have any questions, that's seriously okay. I know I threw a lot of information at you. In fact, like if you want to take like a second after the stream's done and think of something, you don't have to, but if you do, like please post in the Discord. I check that every day. I know it's been kind of quiet, but that's because, you know, asking questions randomly about random things, it's not extremely easy. But go check out the Discord, discord.gg/StreamerSquare. Go check that out. Follow me on Twitter and follow StreamerSquare on Twitter. I'm at Danotage on everything. I post a lot of Instagram stories. I talk a lot about life and talk a lot about streaming and talk a lot about a few different things. I try not to be, you know, I try not to talk people down or anything. I try not to be, you know, pretentious about a lot of things. I really do my best to not be what I hate. And there's a few people that talk about streaming that I don't hate them, but I do hate the way they talk about it. And it comes a lot like, you're you and I'm me, and I know exactly what I'm doing, so you should listen to me and stuff like that. I try to talk to you like you know what you're doing. You know what's going on. Let me just tell you my perspective. And my perspective may or may not be completely full of crap. And I'm very much willing to admit when it is, and especially if you have a problem with it. But I try to be pretty honest and at least level-headed with a lot of you guys. If you guys don't care about that, then don't worry about it. But I'm Danotagen everywhere. And follow me there. You can go into my Discord if you want. We're talking about games and eco and stuff like that. You can come to the channel and stream. I stream roughly the same time as Loco, a little bit before, so that I get to watch her when I'm done usually. So I'm usually on in the early morning, but you know, we talk about all kinds of things, and you're more than welcome to bring these topics up in the middle of my stream. I don't mind. And if you want to pose questions, and if I think it's a good question to put on the show, I may save it and may give you a little preview of what I think, and I may need to think about it some more, but I may save it and stuff like that. Not eco. Have you guys seen, okay, dude, you got homework. You have homework, and I'm going to check your homework next week. Okay, you have homework. And I'm going to check your homework. You need to watch the Echo the Dolphin video game commercials. Go watch the commercials. Okay, and I'm going to quiz you on the commercials next week. Go watch the commercials, and that's your homework. And with that, I bid you adieu. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching this week. I'm sorry it was so short. We will continue this. I've been doing like 2-hour shows the last couple weeks, but we'll be back doing some longer shows and stuff like that. Do get extra credit if you played the game. You get extra credit if you could show me a picture of you holding the cartridge. All right. Yes, you can. It doesn't matter what time it is. Just yes, you get extra credit if you've played the game. All right, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Remember, stay positive, play more games, and read more comics. I've been Danotage. I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching. And please, please, please come back on Monday to watch Stream Scene and Your Brand, Your Business. And then next Tuesday for Stream Doctor and Dan's Stream of Thought. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys. Have a good one, everybody.